Morning everyone. The day after, day 3 for me, might be part 3 for you. Yeah, day 2, day 3, sort of like that. So all the coolant housing, the thermostat is all been sorted. I've put the old pipe back on. Still raining a bit of coolant from this pipe here. Oh, it's just horrible. But yeah, it's all built in. I've put the thermostat in there. It's all sitting nicely, and the thermostat, the jiggle ball is around about 12 o'clock, although it should be actually sitting fractionally a bit more to the right, but that doesn't matter as long as the air bleed screw is kind of at the top, around 12 o'clock-ish. It's probably more like 11:30 at the moment. For some reason it actually spun round. I just moved that slightly. There we go. Lovely. You can just turn it round there, but that's the way it should be sitting. And when the thermostat opens, it pushes down against that and opens the gateway for the coolant to go out through this way to the radiator. Without that, the coolant is just circulating around the engine. Anyway, and the, well, mainly the heater core. Anyway, next job. We've got that half sorted, so I'll put that back on later. But for now, power steering, because, you know, other brands are available of drinks bottles. Yeah, you know the drinks bottle comes out when it's time for this job. I might have to clean this bottle up. I'll see what the filter's like. But in the usual fashion, we've got to take the switch out. Now, I've just released, if I just put my torch on. No, that's very good. These pumps do get very rusty on these Zetec models. I'm not quite sure why. They never go like that on Sigmas as far as I'm concerned. Some of them do. But I'll give that a bit of a clean up later. But anyway, just watch these clamps as well, because these clamps have a habit of packing up. I've got to say, this hose has just got some cracks in it. I've just noticed some cracks. So I've got to be careful of that, actually. And that is another weak point. I've known where a member's hose clamp cracked here, this one, and he lost pressure that way going through the pump. It was a subtle leak, but just something to be aware of. But just take the plug off, okay? And we need a 19mm. Now make sure that you get this firmly on that 19 hex. Okay, there we go. I know it's on. There we go. And it should just go like that. Now I've got my drain pan underneath. It'll probably make a bit of a mess. I'm just going to put this around here as well, just to deflect it. There we go. There we go. Done. Just make sure it's in the right position. Oh my God, it's black. That is literally black. Oh, that is disgusting. That's the worst power steering fluid I've actually seen. That is a dark greeny black. Ouch. That is not good. Oh my goodness me. Well, this is a used one now, so I'll just keep that ideally away. It's dripping quite nicely down there, actually. It's going directly down there. It isn't making too much of a mess. That's very good. And then I'll proceed to put the feed pipe in that bottle, and the other one I've got to take off and just stuff it with tissue for the moment. Yeah, it's just suddenly stopped. So this part of the system is pretty empty, but it's what's down in that back end of the system that's still going to be full of black rubbish. No wonder the steering was heavy on this thing. I mean, the steering does feel good, but goodness me, oh, nasty. There's a whole clump of it down there. I'll just take that off and then come around to the small one. This is the return line. There we go. They're never hard to get off, and then well, this one's stuck on. Gotta be careful here. Ouch. Ouch. You know, when I say something's easy to get off, it turns out to be a challenge. Now I'm just gonna squeeze it and just There we go. Without breaking the bottle. There we go. Lovely. Pull that out. Well, do come on. Wow. Ouch. That is disgusting. Can you see in there? It's just black rubbish sitting at the bottom. The filter doesn't look too bad actually, but I'm going to swill that out in some degreaser at some point during today. Ugh, that is horrible. Ugh. Right, so that's been dripping. Lovely. We'll let that drip for a little bit. Just leave it as a drain plug for the time being. I gotta clean that up. But I think while that's doing its business, I'm actually going to put the thermo housing back on. I think it might take a bit more time to sort that out because I've got to clean that properly. Right. I've just managed to extract the rest of the power steering fluid out the return line into this bottle. Oh God, that's nasty. Look how thick that is. That is definitely, that's been contaminated. I suspect there's a bit of wear in there as well, unfortunately. But also, I'm just going to put it in a safe place over there. Bit of wear, but also I think it's ATF and the green CHF stuff mixed together, so it's going to need a good flush out. Look, I've got all these bottles. Meanwhile, oh dear, too steamy. Right, here we go. Now I've got to connect that back bit with that hose down there. So I've got to sort of thread this in this way. So I put it in like that, and then proceed to fit that. So just line it up roughly. Okay, lovely. And I'll try and get that hose on and start lining the bolts in. Honestly, I had some real problems just then trying to get that clip over without it self-locking itself, but it is just about, it's in place. It's in place. Right, now I'm going to offer this thing up. I'm just going to get a couple of the bolts. Just put one in there and just try and thread that one in just as best as I can. Oh, come on, there we go. Once you've got one in, there you go. That screws in rather nice and really easily. There we go. I'd say these bolts are really nicely sized. It's something they definitely got wrong on the Sigma. It wasn't quite as good as a design. There we go. Lovely. Just hand tighten it all in and it will center itself really, really nicely. There we go. So we do everything by hand here today. Right, the torque spec is 20 Newton meters. So not much with the small torque. There we go. That's lovely. I think this one actually has gone slightly loose. The next thing we're going to deal with is this breather down here, because there is some oil down here, but I think it's old oil which I'm going to have to clean off gently. I've just given that power steering pump a bit of I've put some carb cleaner over it and it's come up really, really nicely now. It doesn't look like some sort of corrugated mess that they always look like. And they do, as I say, they do rust on the casings, which is a very funny thing really. That's all torqued up now. You must torque things up. When it's plastic going onto metal, you must torque it up by the book. And I know so we don't do torque settings for certain things. Plastic going onto something else, you must torque it. Because if you over torque it, if you under torque it, it will leak. If you under torque it, in this case, you'll snap the plastic, you'll crack the plastic, it'll be under too much stress. There is a reason given for why that is. God, there's still water all over the place in this engine. Yeah, so just bear that in mind, please. So I've torqued it back in, thermostat's back in. I'm not going to attach these sides because we're going to look at this breather valve. Yeah, I've just given this power steering pump a bit of a clean, which it looks much better now, I can tell you. But there's a lot of old oil down here. I'm going to have to clean that out at some point. But we've got this breather valve here, the PCV valve. I'm just going to pull it out of its housing because it's just sitting here. And I really want to find out how good it actually is. Ideally, I needed to do this when the thermostat was off. I'll just give it a good pull. It is moving. It's just come out the hole. There we go. Can you can see the hole down there. There you go. The hole just there. And we've got the valve. Now I'm going to try and untwist this. It is an original Ford valve. Just twist it off this little hose. Come on. Because a lot of these oil leaks, you never know. I always check the breather because excessive crankcase ventilation will cause... Oh dear, that's not very good. This is an original metal Ford one. It shakes-ish, but it's not very free. That's got to be sorted. Yeah, you don't need to replace these. You need to clean them. And you really do need to just shoot it with carb cleaner. Look at my gloves. Hard at work today. There we go. Lovely. Excuse me, I'm just gonna... There we go. Nice and free. Right, we can clean that up and put that back in. Simple as that. Right. What a pickle. Right, guys. There is a reason why I'm messing around down here. And I'm going to have to try and bring you in. Torx T30 with a 10mm spanner controlling the end of the bit. Why? Before I put that breather valve back in. Remember, we are changing the crankshaft position sensor. Now on a Sigma, it's held in with I think it's either a 10mm and 8mm bolt. Give me on the correction on that one or the other. It's very easy to take out. This car, it should be easy because it's in the same position on the right hand corner of the flywheel. Got the big cat in the way, but it doesn't really matter because the problem is that I didn't realise the fixing was a Torx T30. The one single fixing that holds the crankshaft position sensor. The best way I can actually show you. Where's the other one? Oh, it's here. Right. So it sits not like that, where the bolt is on this side, the easy side. It's on this side. Okay. Now, whoop. Now that is a Torx T30. Now I'm going to have to shove you in so you can possibly see what the problem is. So we've taken the plug off, this brown plug. Okay. This brown plug here, I've taken it off. It's just a spring plug. Take it off. Now I'm just going to fit you down here so you can see the problem. You see the issue we're dealing with here? Oh, I can't really show you it. Right, that's the crankshaft position sensor. But the fixing is on the other side, okay? It's really close. And I've got to be honest, if I just bring you up to explain this fully, you cannot get, because of the cat and where it sits, you cannot get a socket on it on this side. The only way of doing it is by trying, and I've attempted this, a long bar, a 3/8 spanner on this side, okay, and you've got your hand on this side. The bar goes behind the cat and extends onto the bit and the socket bit. I can't do it. You can't do that because the bracket for the cat is in the way. you are not getting a good purchase on that T30. The only way of doing it is by getting just a bit and a spanner, and I have just about loosened it off by putting the spanner on this side on the bit with both hands working. I'm sorry guys, there's no easy way of doing that. I'm not going to put the breather valve back in. It's still not as loose as what it should be. I'm going to clean it again. In fact, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pop it in my parts cleaner. But yeah, crankshaft position sensor, take your time with that. I've got the bolt moving, but be very, very careful. Right guys, you might be able to see a very, very long screwdriver which I'm operating on the other side. I've cracked it off with the bit and the spanner, and it's now free for me to stick a very, very long Torx T30 screwdriver from the other side, and it is just slowly coming out, bit by bit by bit. Oh my goodness. I tell you what, this is the way I'm going to have to screw it back in, but ideally I'm going to replace this if I can with a suitable nut. We'll see how it goes. There you go, that's coming out really, really nicely now. This will drop on the floor, that's absolutely fine. Oh yeah, it's nicely winding out now. There's just no space in here for anything else. There we go, lovely. Right, that's now loose. Take that away. Okay, this is what you need. I can now extract that screw, which is here. I tell you something, this is quite concerning. If I am struggling to find the tools to do what is comparatively quite a simple job on a lot of engines, just with access issues, and this is really bad in terms of access, and I very rarely have to use, because these Halford sockets are designed to be used with a 10mm spanner in areas of inaccessibility, and I've only twice had to do that technique on anything to do with focuses. So that's quite concerning. Now you should be able to pull this out, just wiggle it, just give it a wiggle. There we go, it spins. There we go, out it comes. Ooh. There we go, lovely. This is going to be a good second-hand spare, but God, there's no access. I'm going to clean down there in a second with a bit of degreaser. There you go. There's your Ford logo right at the end. That's been botched off on this one. Can you see? There we go. You can see with the daylight. It's just been rubbed off. It's exactly the same. It's got exactly the same markings on it. Yeah. So I have bought a genuine original. Oh, to God, they haven't rubbed it off because it's dodgy. I think it's possibly because some parts end up with other manufacturers and they can't have Ford's name on it. That's quite interesting. So if you see one, have a look at this area of your crankshaft position sensor, because you never know. Whoever the manufacturer was of these sensors, possibly Bosch, someone made them for Ford and Ford put their stamp on. So it's possible that it could be a Bosch. This could be a Bosch one for all I know, or whatever manufacturer made these. This has come from them, and they've had to rub the name off because it's obviously, it may have gone to Ford originally, or maybe they just manufactured it with Ford's stamp on it, and they had to take it off because they're sending it through their own body, their own outlets. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to degrease that area. Sticking this back in, I've got to be honest, if I'm going to reuse this, I'm going to use this to screw it in as much as possible, and that's it. I'm not going to tighten it to much torque at all because I want it to be accessible in the future in case there's a problem. I don't fancy dealing with this on the side of the road. In fact, the reason I'd keep this in the glove compartment is if there was an issue with this on the journey. But the problem is, because it's so poor accessibility, I'm going to have to carry one of these in the glove compartment. Huh. What a joke. It just alarms me now that many Zetec owners have not done this job because of what a pain in the ass. Some people probably think that you have to take the cat off. I've got to be honest, it was going down that route at one stage. The thought crossed my mind that I couldn't do it, but I can. So I'm going to put all this back in. I'm going to clean all this up, and then I'll I'll shove it back in at some point. Here we go, guys. Just trying to get my screwdriver in place and just about threading it in. Oh dear me, this is taking ages to do. Now what we've got to do here, I'm just fitting the new crankshaft position sensor, just giving it a bit of a degrease down there. It's not the most thorough degrease in the world. There's a lot of grease over the steering rack, which I've had to clean off just in case we haven't got any steering rack leaks. But basically, I think we're in position now where I can get my screwdriver on this side. I've dropped it, trying to get it in and get it absolutely on that thread. Goodness mate, this is horrible. What a horrible job this is. It's supposed to be bloody relatively simple, but it damn well isn't. I've now reverted to the spanner and the T30 bit, and then just keep an eye on it and just make sure that it is winding in. It would be a disaster if that started cross-threading, but it doesn't look like it's going to be it's a bolt that's actually pretty, it's not rusty or anything, so I'm pretty happy putting it back in, even though I think I could have put a hex in there. We still have the same issue though, really, because even getting like a 10mm hex bolt of the same thread and pitch, you'd still have this issue where inaccessibility with a spanner, because it's on the back side. I wonder whether this is that's why it's a Torx fitting, because it's actually on the back side of the sensor, and they fitted it so you'd have to fit a Torx bit which would extend it past the clip where the connector fits. That's what I'm thinking anyway. Just trying to, yeah, we're almost there, and we'll proceed to the valve. Goodness of that, honestly. And I just put the plug back over, trying to find where okay, twist it back on. There we go. Oh, honest to God, that should have been a lot easier, but it certainly wasn't. It was fighting, and I'm just cleaning as I go along. I just forget how dirty these cars can get. I tell you, that steering rack, oh gosh, it's covered in grease everywhere. I tell you what though, this engine has been leaking oil underneath for some time, and as you can see, I've just been degreasing it quite a bit around the gearbox and coupling and the sump. It has preserved the sump extremely well, because these rot out quite easily. You can change them without dropping the exhaust, which is really handy, but the subframe has also been equally as preserved, so I'm really pleased about that. Anyway, look at the bottle. That ultrasonic cleaner is utterly amazing in what it can achieve. Just a bit around the seal where it's a bit dirty, but it's absolutely amazing. Lovely. And this valve is ready to go back in as well, so we'll just fit that back in with some difficulty as usual. On. There we go. Lovely. Just getting back into the pipe, that's the hardest thing. Lovely. Right, we're done in that department. I'm glad we've sorted that breather, just to make sure that we're okay. I will check the breather pipes just for argument's sake, and I'll get this over in a second. Lovely. Right, now I'm just going to put that hose clip back on. We've got these two hoses waiting for the rail. There we go. Good. Right, what I'm going to do is stick the rail on next and that hose on, and then we can possibly, because we've got to connect the bottle, I'm not going to do that until I've done the power steering, so we'll proceed to do that after I've done the rail. Okay, so managed to get that hose back on. I'll clean these hoses up a bit more after all this. The cleaning will be done afterwards, to be honest. It's never going to be quite as clean as 50 Shades. Right, this pipe, you got these special clips with this pin you push through, okay? So it's like a one-time fit only, to be honest with you. But it will fit here, okay? Now you've got a couple of mounting holes, but I can clearly see where it's been before. So if we just mount it through there and push the clips in, there you go, lovely. And just put that through there. There we go. It doesn't really matter which pipe goes in which, because it's the same return rail. Okay, so what we do is I just pop that in there and push these pins in. I think you might need to use a bit of force to get these in. There you go, most of the way in. There we go. You must bear in mind, guys, that once it's fitted, it's a one-time fit only, because getting these out... Now, I'm just going to probably leave one of them quite... If I just push that in with my Torx. Yeah. You might want to leave it flush, because as long as they're like that, it doesn't have to be flush. Okay. I like the fact that the sticker's facing upwards. No doubt that will disappear in time and get stained. But anyway, just fit these pipes on. You might need to use a bit of silicone just to ease them on, just a little bit. Okay, make sure they're all the way to the stopper. Okay, same for these. Here we go. Lovely. And it's one. Lovely. Done. Now I'll just use this tool down here. I should be able to get these over quite easily. Starting to look better now. Parts are coming together. Lovely. That's all done. Lovely and fitted. Just give it a bit of a clean there. Lovely. Clean as you go. Look at that. You can see all the lovely writing on these hoses. That's exactly what you want to see. Good. Now it looks like it's had a little bit of money spent on it. Just a little bit, guys. Not too much. A lot of this is cleaning and TLC. Now, just going to move all this out the way now, because most of this is not required. Now I'm just going to fit this hose relatively loosely. I'm just going to flick it on here where it goes onto the expansion port. And to be honest, this is stuck in the open position as well. Actually, that shouldn't be like that. There we go. I might have to just tighten that a little bit, because that shouldn't really be that loose. But anyway, I'm going to leave that hanging there. That is for these two. These clips, I assume that... Come on, there we go. Lovely. So it all goes together eventually. Right, so power steering. Yes, we're going to have to put the switch in back in now. Whew, there we go. We've got this cap that we have to take off. Ooh, excuse me. God, this takes a bit of leverage. There we go. Ooh, it's just a bungy cap. Lovely. And it will be a 19mm. Screw straight in. Made in Mexico, as always. So just find the slot. Oh, goodness me. And it will just screw in as best as you can. What the fuck is the slot now? There you go. Do it by hand. And we're just going to nip it up with the 10mm. Literally just nip out the 10mm. I'm too used to saying that. 19mm, Andrew. Now, gotta be honest, I just stick that on the end. Be very careful that you have got it on the socket. That is nice and nipped up now. Okay, it's not too yeah, it's not too overdone. You'll feel it nip up, give it a nip, stop. That's the end of that. Now, this is the tricky time. Now, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to feed, okay? We're going to need to feed the pump, okay? So, we're going to have to stick the bottle back on here. There we go. And then we're going to have to get our tissue again and bung the end. Oh, I'll just get some of this. Right, that's bunged up, and we've stuck the return pipe from the cooler into this disinfectant, hence why there's some disinfectant still in there. I think it's gone off, but we're just going to fill it up now. And yep, I think we can say that we have absolutely no leaks from the return, and we just fill it up. I've got a couple of bottles because I've been doing a lot of this. Episodes with 50 Shades, hashtag. Right, now I'm gonna kind of fill it all the way to the brim. Try and brim it. Oh, yeah, go. Brilliant, there wasn't much left in that bottle. Now, there'll be a lot of air in the system, but we're going to put the keys in and go for it. Now, I've given you the view many times before, but still. God, the steering is a bit squeaky. Okay. Oh yeah, we're getting some going in there. There's a lot of air in the system, so we're going to continue to proceed with this one. If you struggle because there's so much air in the system and it can't overcome it, you may have to start the car absolutely momentarily, because if there's air, there'll be air around the pump and you don't want that pump running dry. So literally flip the key, you could literally spin the engine over potentially without starting it, but we'll just literally flick it on if we have any issues. But otherwise, I'm just going to continue doing this. Ooh. Getting a bit of feeling back to the steering, which is really, really good. There's still rubbish coming out. I need all the bottles for this. I mean, this is the worst steering system I've found. Lovely, all done. Plumb back in, bled the system. Oh, lovely. And we're just up to the max mark, but the car is jacked up, so I'm going to turn it off now. But I can honestly say that after a few bottles, the steering feels a lot nicer. I still swear that steering is a little bit on the heavy side for a Mark 1. There's possibly there has been some wear in the rack, maybe. Don't know, maybe the power steering pump is fractionally different on these models, because I do think it's a different type of pump they fit to the Zetecs. But you know what? That feels rather nice. There is a heavier spot, and I'll tell you why that is. I've just identified something that would definitely affect the steering. There is a squeaky strut bearing. On turning this wheel, there is just a little squeak. So, as I say, when it will come out in the future, spring shock and you do your top bearing as well, but it's absolutely marginal. But I think that's what would cause the heaviness in the steering a little bit, but it's not far off what it should be. It's really, really good. It's much improved. And oh gosh, guys, come over here. It took a few bottles, so this is another bottle that is not quite empty, so I'm gonna use that. We've got 2 empty bottles, so we've got 2 litres there, 3 litres, almost 3 litres to change the colour. So first bottle with the disinfectant, the disinfectant's at the bottom. It's pine disinfectant, Tesco's. It was out of date years ago. This is actually something I had in my flat, which is why I knew it was in the bin. Yeah, black as rubbish. Second one, not much better, to be honest. Maybe it's going a bit grey, maybe a hint of green, but tiny. Definitely a colour change. We're getting some green going on, but there's still plenty of black in there. It's not ideal. And then the last one was ideal. There's a lot more green in there. Absolutely. That was the final one. Honestly, it took a lot of doing that, but fantastic. I'm going to disconnect the battery. Well, disconnect the battery again, and then we're going to do the bottle. I'm just going to find the cap. I'm really pleased with how the bottle looks. That ultrasonic cleaner always works. I'm going to have to get one with the bloody label. Someone's rubbed it off again. Always happens. The print goes out. I'll just give this a bit of a clean up, and then we'll put the cooling pipes back in. But it starts fine, so the cramp position sensor's working, and hopefully with the breather valve operating, it will be a little bit more efficient in that area. There is another thing to check, and I'm going to check that breather valve at the bottom of the air filter. That's all done, all plumbed in. That bottle looks too nice for the rest of the car at the moment, but that's the idea, So, unplug the MAF sensor. Okay. The air filter has been changed. I knew that anyway, it was a genuine Ford one. Oh, flipping heck, there's a lot of leaves in there. Now, this is the filter I want to see. Oh, that's really clean. No, that's good. Good. I can put that back in. I won't worry about the leaves or anything. It's not going to go anywhere. That's the dirty side. That's the clean side. Right, so I can put all this back together knowing that breather filter has been changed. Basically the aftermarket filters don't usually come with them. It's only the genuine ones that come with that filter. And because it's a genuine Ford air filter, you change the breather filter at the bottom as well. Because if that's blocked, you're going to have breathing issues again, because it takes the breathing from the top of the engine, and that valve that we cleaned earlier takes it from the bottom, from the block area. So it's really important to get good breathing in all areas of the car, because then that reduces the chances of oil leaks. It certainly will be improved based on what I've seen today. Something you should look at on day one, because it will prevent oil leaks everywhere, and it may even improve your emissions, believe it or not. Is this a time to remember that you haven't done the drain plug? Yes, I did do that about half an hour ago. In fact, just check that it doesn't leak. I'm just going to have a bit of a glance. Yes, because it's a plastic bung with a bit of rubber on it. And do you know what? They are very expensive from Ford. You'll be lucky to get one for £22, and I am not kidding you. And I can't find any aftermarket ones. So if anybody has any links to an aftermarket one, that would be great. But otherwise, just reuse them. You don't need to replace them unless the rubber is so perished that it's actually seeping coolant and you're losing coolant as a result. The one thing to remember with coolant as well is the reason you change OAT coolant. The clue is in the title, organic acid technology. Okay, it was designed because the blue stuff, the IAT stuff, inorganic, only lasted 2 years, whereas the red stuff, this stuff, OAT, it's designed to last 5 years, greater life expectancy. But like I suspect what's happened with this system, and hopefully nothing's been completely damaged, is that after about 5 years, the reason you're told to change it is because it can turn very corrosive. The actual antifreeze turns corrosive when the additives stop working, and it starts attacking certain pieces of metal within the system, which is why I think there's so much sludge in this engine, which has had to be flushed out. This car's had a bit of a, not colonic irrigation, but it certainly had that in 2 different departments today, power steering and coolant, and I really do recommend it if you've just bought a Mark 1 to start from scratch immediately and just check visually. No, nothing's leaking. Fantastic. Yeah, thermostat housing looks fantastic to me. We would start to see something maybe soon, but anyway, go back to when I'm filled it up. We'll see how much goes in. GoPro's not